Electronic Arts,
They suck.
EA, literally the worst company on the face of the planet.
And they're
Pretty
no good.
much. No, they're bad. So why did I bring up EA? Mainly because of sports games. So last week we did a topic on NBA 2K and the abysmality going on there with in-game advertisements and things like that. And we both kind of shared our disdain with sports games because basically, every year they get released, it's just a roster update, right?
Yep.
Usually not even a reskin, it's just a roster update with not much added benefits.
That's right.
And it's really a waste of money.
Yeah.
So I bring up EA this week, Brett, because obviously EA Sports is huge, right? EA has Madden and FIFA, which are the two largest sports games in the entire world.
FIFA's fucking nuts.
FIFA even more so
Yeah.
internationally.
FIFA's fucking crazy.
FIFA's huge. So EA released their, or at least their earnings reports for this past quarter today. And we actually have a lot of information this week coming off of some of these financial reports from companies. There's a lot of devil in the details, Brett. So basically your main highlights and why I bring it up from this EA stuff is because they obviously see continued success of their sports franchises, which we always think about EA. That's who we're talking about. E3 back in the day where it's like, why are they always spending so much fucking time on these sports games on the stage? Who cares about them? Well, a lot of people play them, right?
And buy them.
Buy them, and it makes them a shit ton of money.
Yep.
Okay. So, for example, Madden NFL 21 has 30% more players year over year. Okay, reported last quarter. Okay. And FIFA 20 hit 35 million concurrent players. Okay. And EA Play subscriptions are currently at 6.5 million subs prior to the Game Pass integration and things like that.
That's a lot.
So I bring this up because... Go ahead.
I was going to say that's a lot. Like, I did not realize that platform had that many subscriptions.
Right.
I kind of wrote it off.
Well, yeah, I mean, and as many people did. So obviously, I think some of this increased user base, right, probably has to do with COVID-19 stuff, as it is across gaming. But I also just wanted to use this as kind of a flavor text and like into why these games continue to be released in the way that they are. And to be honest with you, there's not going to be... We complain from a consumer standpoint about these changes, right, with games every year. Madden is basically just reskinned, or not even reskinned, just a roster update every year, right? You might see an incremental change in their graphics every 3 to 5 years. FIFA, I mean, the FIFA this year was scrutinized for being literally the exact same game, right? With just small roster changes and literally nothing on the back end. So I bring it up because as we continue to see these games being super profitable, they're not going to change their platform or how they release them then.
Yeah, you're right. It's unfortunate because EA kind of has a monopoly on these sports games, specifically like football games or football, soccer or football. If you want to play those games and you want a good experience, like that's kind of the place you got to go. If people are buying them, which they're going to, and they are, as we know, why change anything? Why would they? Why should they?
Right. Right. They don't have an incentive to.
It's just, there's no reason for them to... If they got you once, they're going to get you again. They're going to get you again and again and again. And once they did it once, and they were like, holy shit, we just put out the same fucking game, but just updated the roster and people bought it. They were like, all right, well, we're doing it every year. So,
do you think though that if they really delayed the development cycle of main title releases, right? And they were like, here's a new game, right? Here's the new FIFA game. Mm-hmm. But instead for 2 to 3 years, they just do, you can buy roster updates, right? For $20, $30, $40, whatever it might be, right? And then every 3 to 5 years, they release a new, completely overhauled experience and then do roster updates for that. Do you think that would really hurt their revenue? Like, do you think that they would not potentially make more money in the long run by doing roster updates at a slightly smaller price rather than doing just full-fledged releases every year?
So I've thought about this a lot. That's actually like in a perfect world, that's what I would like to happen in sports games, is what you just said there. Now, would they make the same amount of money? I don't know. There's a lot of factors you have to consider. Number one, the amount it takes to make a game every year, right? They're obviously not doing too much to the game, so they can't spend too much on actually developing this, let's say, Madden 22 or whatever. They're not going to spend a lot of money making Madden 22. They're going to spend a lot of money on marketing Madden 22. Right. And that's the thing you have to put in there is, sure, they're going to, all right, so let's paint a picture here. Let's make a scenario, right? Next Madden game comes out. 1 year later, instead of putting out the next one sequentially, they just put out an update, like you said, a roster update, a DLC update. You have to pay $20 to $30 for it.
Yeah.
The only thing they would really be spending money on is marketing, because they would have to market the new DLC. But they really wouldn't be doing anything crazy. They wouldn't be rehauling the graphics. They wouldn't be doing any of that. They would simply be doing a roster update. Mm-hmm. And I think, while they're saving money there, they're losing money, because instead of you buying a now $70 game, you're only going to be spending $30 on it.
Right. But do you not think there's a good percentage of people who are like us, who might wait a couple, we might not buy a sports game every year. It might be every couple of years. For example, for me, MLB The Show, I don't buy it every year, but I do buy one every couple of years. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. And that you would get the money from those people. But the problem is we're not the majority. So
yeah, it's hard because I don't know the flip side of that, and I don't have all the numbers in front of me. But I also think too that the distribution costs that they pay, would significantly lead to a larger. You would have almost no overhead.
Just
for
marketing.
Doing roster updates. It would just be marketing, right? So you don't have to do distribution or shipping or anything like that. Or even production, right? Yeah. It would just be simply a roster update, and then you would just need to do advertising, be like, hey, here's the Madden NFL 2023 update. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Here's the thing, though. Like I said, they're still not getting... Why would they do that if they're already getting a huge chunk every year? You know what I mean? They want all of it at once. They don't want $30 one year, $30 another year. They want it all up front. $60, $70 game. And I feel that if they did start implementing what we're talking about with this DLC, the game would have even worse microtransactions than it already has in order to make up the cost there. And it's sad that I had to say like they already are doing, because in a game like Madden or FIFA, they shouldn't have microtransactions and you're paying $70 fucking dollars for it, $60 for it. But that's the world we live in. You spend $70 on a game, you're going to have microtransactions in the game, and it's going to be the same game you bought last year. So I wouldn't put it past them to just make even more microtransactions somehow. Instead of the whole roster, you have to buy a team or something. Like, you know what I mean? Instead of updating the whole roster, it's like it's $15 to update the Philadelphia Eagles.
This is terrible. We're in a terrible situation. We're in a terrible situation.
I don't know.
Yeah, man, you're right. It's just, there is clearly more consumer-friendly strategies within their current platform, but what we're forgetting at the heart of it is that EA is a fucking abysmal company.
Oh, yeah.
And they would never do anything that's consumer-friendly, ever.
No, they make too much money, and it's all about the money with them, whereas a lot of other devs, a lot of other studios, a lot of the publishers, they care about the people that play the games. An example of a studio I would have said before, CD Projekt Red. Clearly they care about the product they're putting out and the players. It just seems a little, as they're getting bigger, they're starting to kind of fall into the same pit holes, you know? So.
Yeah. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Just say it right. Just say it right.
Hey everybody. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know it's part of a larger podcast called Haptic? You can check it out by clicking here, or maybe here, or maybe here. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.